I'm Sherry Kendall, and welcome to Hometown Salutes. Today, I have Fayette County veteran Don Bales. Welcome, Don.
Thanks for having me, Sherry.
So let's get started. What branch of service were you in, and why did you pick that branch?
I was in the U.S. Army, and I was in for a total of 7 years. And I had a lot of brothers. 3 brothers went in the Navy. My father's in the Navy. I couldn't see myself on a boat for 8 months out of the year. And the Army really appealed to me, actually.
Okay. So you didn't go in right after high school? You graduated, right, in 1982?
I graduated in 82.
From Connersville High School.
Yep. And then I went to college for 1 year.
Okay.
And, just paying for it and everything. Sit down and talk to my dad, and I decided the best thing to do would be to maybe earn some money for college. And so shortly thereafter, my freshman year of college, I joined the Army in the reserves initially, just as a private.
Okay.
And I went to Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri for the combat basic training.
Okay, for basic training?
For basic training, right.
And how long are you in basic training there?
Oh, geez. It must have been 12 weeks.
Okay.
12 weeks, and it was hot and rainy and cold, and you can imagine.
So what was a typical day like in basic training? Did you enjoy it?
I did. Well, actually, I did. Look, I went there as a, 18-year-old kid, and I remember my father putting me on the bus in Richmond, a Greyhound bus, to send me to Rolla, Missouri, to Fort Leonard Wood. And I remember it was an overnight ride. It was probably 12 hours. You had a lot of stops along the way. I just remember just thinking there, as I rode on the bus, what I'm getting myself into. And I remember seeing a billboard sign that said, "When it's hard to work, work your hardest."
Yeah.
And I never forgot that. So a typical day there was getting up about 4 a.m. And 4 a.m. started out with physical training, PT, because as soon as you get there, they try to get you from a civilian frame of mind to a military frame of mind as quickly as possible. And so a typical day, you get up at 4 a.m., physical training, then you follow just your training schedule. In the first 3 to 4 weeks, the drill sergeants are with you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. They don't leave your side. And a lot of that was just learning military customs and courtesies, how to become a soldier, how to be a private in the Army. It was interesting. And then the second 4 weeks was, weapons, basic combat maneuvers and training, and a lot of teaching. And I always say the military, they were the best teachers you could ever have because they kind of had a method about it. They would tell you what they're going to teach you. Then they would do the subject matter review, hands-on demonstration in front of you. They would have you do a demonstration, a review, and then a test. And that's the Army formula for success. And the final 12 weeks was just that. It was a lot of testing, a lot of review, and then graduation. Yeah.
So after graduation, did you go into a specialized training at that point?
I did. I went to advanced individual training at Fort McClellan, Alabama. That was the home of the military police training as well as the chemical corps. And I was part of the chemical corps at that time. And I had, must have been a 20-week training down there as a private just to learn all the basics between nuclear, biological, chemical warfare, fallout predictions, things like that. Because at that time, in the 80s when I was in, I was very fortunate. It was after Vietnam, but before Iraq and Afghanistan, of course. We were worried about the Soviet Union at that time. It wasn't even Russia, it was called the Soviet Union.
Okay.
So we had our eye on them and nuclear, biological, chemical warfare. So I was at Fort McClellan for about 20 weeks. And then after that, went to Fort Benning, Georgia, Benning School for Boys.
Okay.
For airborne training, paratrooper training. I was there for 3 weeks, and after that, I also did training with the 101st Airborne at Fort Campbell for air assault training. So quite a bit of training along the way before I actually went overseas.
Oh, wow. So then you went overseas. What are some of the countries that you got to visit?
Wow. I visited my entire time, probably about 27 countries.
Really?
Yeah. Lived in Germany for a little over 3 years, and you went to all the countries around Germany, went to Austria, Switzerland, France, Spain, Italy, the Benelux, which is Belgium, Luxembourg, and Netherlands. Yeah, I mean, as many as you could go to.
I saw this picture right here. This is you and your dad?
That's me and my dad, yeah. My mom and dad were fortunate enough to come and visit me in 1989. And that was in Salzburg, Austria, I think. And they come over there for about 2 weeks, and we just had a terrific time. That's one of the things that I'm really thankful for, is I got to serve in Europe, and I had family and I had friends come to see me. And we got to do some of the really neat stuff, neat travels.
Yeah. Wow, that's neat. So during your time, did you ever come into close encounter?
Well, I guess what I'd say is during that time, the Vietnam War had ended, Iraq and Afghanistan hadn't started, but there was a lot of things that would pop up. You had Panama, you had the Beirut barracks bombing, you had the disco in Berlin. I mean, you had small things like that, but no combat, no.
Okay.
Thankfully.
Right. So one time, your parents and your whole family, you want to tell about when they put a happy birthday into the paper? You want to tell what happened there?
Sure. I had been overseas about a year, and I decided that I was going to come home for my birthday. That's December 21st of 1988. And I was a platoon leader at the time, and my travels got delayed for a couple days. I had to stay back for some UCMJ, Uniform Code of Military Justice proceedings on a couple soldiers. Fortunately, that day, Pan Am 103 that took off in Malta, went to Frankfurt, then to London, and then blew up over Lockerbie, Scotland. It had 37 Syracuse University students, a number of military personnel, and a lot of Americans on there. But that was a flight I was supposed to be on. And instead of that flight, that was a Wednesday, December 21st was. I flew home on a Friday, December 23rd. And
Wow.
I was probably on the safest flight in the history of Pan Am. I remember touching down at JFK in New York, because I flew the same route from Frankfurt to London, to New York. I remember touching down in New York and just the plane erupting in applause. It was the craziest thing. Had Yeah.
To think you were scheduled to be on that plane.
Yep. Libya, Gaddafi had some people plant a bomb on it in Malta. And then it was scheduled to blow up over the ocean, but it blew up over Scotland. That's how they were able to recover everything. Yeah.
Wow.
That was. I think about that a lot, because I travel a lot and I fly a lot.
Sure.
And I do. I think about that especially on my birthday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. So you went to what happened at the Great Berlin Wall?
Oh, okay. So I was stationed at the same time. It was really a unique time in Germany because you had West Germany, which is where we were stationed, and East Germany, which is supported by the Soviet Union. And at that time, there was a lot of protests in East Germany wanting freedom. And the Berlin Wall came down November of '89 in Berlin. And I was fortunate enough to be in Germany, to go to Berlin, to be in Berlin when all this was taking place. They opened up the wall, and I actually have a couple pieces at home. I actually have some photos, should have provided you, of me with a hammer beating on the wall to knock it down.
Wow.
Yeah, and we keep a piece of it on our on our shelf at home. And I wrote on it and dated it and everything. So
wow.
it was a neat time to be over there because openness, and they opened up the country, which is now it's one Germany.
Right. Right. Wow. So do you come from a military family?
I do. Like I say, in my immediate family, myself, 3 of my brothers, and my father all served. And my father's generation, all 6 of the men served in the military, and they served everything from Battle of the Bulge in Normandy and Cologne, Germany, to the end of Vietnam. I mean, they were in World War II, Korea, and Vietnam, all my father and his brothers. And the photo you have there, That is my dad's brother. His name is Don Bales. That's who I'm named after. And he was a combat medic in the Navy assigned to a Marine Corps unit, the 31st Marine Corps Division in Korea and in the Chosin Reservoir of Korea. And if you ever have a chance, go on YouTube and just Google Chosin Reservoir and just hear the story of what those Marines had to go through for 18 days of minus 20-degree weather, battling 200,000 Chinese in the Chosin Reservoir. And like I say, my Uncle Don was a combat medic, and he would go and treat some of the injured Marines with morphine. He would tell the story, the little ampules of morphine, it was so cold they were frozen. And he would take them, the little glass ampules, and put them in his mouth to thaw them out so he could inject the injured Marines and relieve their pain. But very proud of him, as well as all my dad's brothers.
That is unreal.
Yep.
So this picture here this is all your dad's brothers?
That is. And there's one that's deceased, but the oldest one, Uncle Floyd, he served in Europe in World War II, and all those gentlemen there served in either World War II, Korea, or Vietnam. And my dad's the one in the middle there.
Okay.
The top left is my Uncle Lewis, and he was injured in Cologne right there. My Uncle Lewis, injured in Cologne. The lower left is my Uncle Arnold, and he was a Green Beret that served in Vietnam. He retired as an E8, which is a Master Sergeant, in 1969. He spent 23 years and saw battle in Korea and Vietnam as well. And then the lower right corner is my Uncle Albert, who was in the Navy in the Pacific during World War II. And of course, we spoke about my Uncle Don up at the top right.
This is Uncle Don, okay.
Yep, and my dad in the middle served during Korea in the Navy as well.
Wow.
Yeah.
So your dad had 5 brothers, and then you had?
And I have 5, right? Right, those are 4 of them right there. Yeah, you see Danny on the left served in the Navy, and he saw quite a bit of action over in Beirut and in the Middle East. Of course, myself, upper right is my brother Gary, who served in the Navy in the submarine services and was stationed out on the West Coast and, like I say, served in the submarine services. And then my brother Bob on the lower right, Bob. Mm-hmm. Bob as well, so.
And he served in the?
Bob didn't serve. Bob's the only one of us that did not serve in the military.
Okay.
And then there's another picture I think you may have in there of John. John retired as lieutenant commander in the Navy. He went in 75 and retired in maybe 2000. There he is, that one right there.
Okay.
Yep, that picture right there.
Yeah.
Yeah, he started out as an E1.
Wow, look at all those medals.
Yeah, he saw quite a bit. He saw quite a bit between Beirut, and his unit supported the Navy SEALs out of Coronado Island.
Oh, really?
Yep. He lived out in San Diego for 35 years and retired, and we're really proud of his efforts as well.
Sure. So we'll just show some pictures of, this is
my brother Danny.
That's Danny.
My brother Danny, yep.
And what year was he in about?
That would be 1979 through 83. Danny served on the USS America aircraft carrier.
Okay.
And he went around the world. I mean, he was all over the place.
Huh. So we got a picture of you and your dad?
Yeah. That's from years ago. That was my best friend. Dad's been gone, he died in 12, so it'll be 9 years this summer. I think about him every day,
And here's your sweet mom.
My sweet mom, Sally.
Yes.
Yep, she's still with us. Lives here in Connersville. And that was on the day, I got my commission as a second lieutenant. I went to IU and joined ROTC, Army ROTC.
Okay.
And that was on my commissioning day. I graduated from IU one day on a Saturday, and on a Sunday I was commissioned as second lieutenant. And then I shipped out to my officer basic course shortly thereafter.
Oh, wow. So Gary, do you know where this is at? Where Gary's
I'm
at in this
thinking that's
picture?
probably Great Lakes Naval. That's probably his boot camp up in Chicago. Yeah, Gary served for a few years, and he went into special services in the submarine division of the Navy.
All right, and that's around 75.
Yeah, it's
You're saying?
probably summer '75, believe it or not. Yeah.
So we have some pictures of when you were little.
Yeah. 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 I was born with a bow tie. That is probably 1966, 67. I'm probably 4 or 5 years old as well.
And you grew up here in Connersville, correct?
I did. I went to Eastview Elementary, graduated here in '82. I mean, aside from going to college and the military and a few jobs, I mean, this is where I grew up and where I lived. And it was, I have a lot of wonderful memories of Connersville. And I love the town. I love the people.
Sure.
You know, I have a lot of great memories. I tell people about it wherever I travel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you travel a lot.
I travel a lot.
So is this a special day here?
That is. My brother John was an instructor at the Citadel. And at that time, he was enlisted. He was an E8. He was a chief. And he got a direct commission as an officer, and they conducted the ceremony at the Citadel in South Carolina. So I was stationed in Europe at the time at my unit, and surprised him and flew back for his commissioning ceremony. So we took that picture that day, and that was, man, that must have been 1988, 89.
Okay.
June of '89, I'm thinking. And I was a first lieutenant at that time.
You're a first lieutenant.
First lieutenant at that time. I had more hair and I was thinner.
So here we got your two brothers. That's Bob.
Yeah, it's Bob and Gary. That's once again down at IU on the day I was commissioned.
This is when you were commissioned?
Right.
Again. Okay.
Commissioned second lieutenant. The whole family came. It was a great festive celebration because it was a lot of work getting there to that point. You know, from the conversation I initially had after my freshman year in college when I realized, all right, I got to do something to earn money to go to college, and sat down with my dad. It was a long journey, and it was a big day of celebration.
And this is still the same day, correct?
Same day.
Yep.
Same day. Yep. Same day right there with my dad as well. Yeah. Yep, that's in my apartment down at IU.
So your dad got honorable discharge out of the United States Navy.
I found, after my father passed, I went through his paperwork and I found his DD-214, his honorable discharge, and a lot of other things that, you know, he never really talked about his military service, but he was in, you know. But I found that and I pressed it out and I framed it and I have it on the wall of our home.
Aw.
Yep.
He had to be so proud of, you know, all of his sons.
He was. Well, I have to tell you, Sherry, the military was a big part of our family identity. You know, my dad's generation, you know, 6 of them served during wartime in the Army, in the Marines, in the Navy. And so it was a big identity of ours. And my dad knew it would be good for us as well. I mean, I went in as an 18-year-old and never been away from home, never been away from Fayette County. And I'm glad I did it because it helped me grow up.
Sure.
And helped me appreciate my family, my town, and my friends a lot more, let me tell you that.
I can't imagine what you saw. I mean, look at Israel here.
That's right. That's right.
Look at the places you saw.
I was in an air cavalry unit, 5-6 Air Cav, out of Wiesbaden, Germany, and it was Apache helicopters. I was a ground officer. I wasn't a pilot, but I was a ground officer. And the spring of 1990, we delivered, I don't know, probably about 15 Apache helicopters to the Israeli Defense Force. And our unit went over there, temporary duty, TDY, and their Israeli pilots had already been through pilot school. We delivered them over there, and our pilots spent time with their pilots, you know, training as well, some additional training. And it was great because you had a couple days off for leave or some free time for 24 hours. And we were stationed in the Negev Desert of Israel down in Beersheba, which is south of Jerusalem. There's a big Israeli Air Force base down there. And I got to go to the old city of Jerusalem and spend a couple days there. And it's just like you read about, just like the pictures you see on TV. It was, of all the places I ever went, it was probably my favorite place.
Really?
Yeah, it was. I mean, it's history, and you know, it's like going back in time in the old city of Jerusalem.
And this is Jerusalem as well?
That's right, right. It was good luck to plant a tree.
So you planted.
So I planted a tree.
So you've been back to see if that tree's still there?
I haven't, although I'd like to go. I'd take my wife Teresa, maybe go see it and check it out.
Sure.
Yeah.
So one thing I know that you like to do, where are you at here? You're in
That's in my
Germany?
apartment in Gießen, Germany. Bought a Harley, and on my free time, I would ride all over the place. I mean, I went, you can be in a different country in, 5 hours, different culture in 10. So I rode all over Europe on that thing.
Wow.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
see that's what you like to do because you're
do.
still doing that today.
That's right. Me and
You're-
Teresa, we have a lot of summer activities.
Yeah.
But I have to say, of all of those, that's probably our favorite. Yeah, we've been everywhere all over the country. We've been to Sturgis, rode down to Key West. Last summer, me and a couple buddies on their Harleys, we rode out to Utah, Colorado, Arizona.
Just take off and go.
Take off and go in June. We rode 4,500 miles in 14 days.
Wow.
The frustrating part was you get out to Grand Canyon and they had it closed because of COVID. Yeah, isn't that something?
Wow. So this is your platoon here,
That's right.
and
yeah.
you're in Germany?
That's 95th Chemical Company in Gießen, Germany.
Okay.
It was part of the 42nd Field Artillery Brigade, part of what's known as 3rd Corps Support Command and 5th Corps in Germany. It's kind of central Germany, outside of Frankfurt.
Okay. So what are you doing here?
Well, we were preparing for a brigade contest, a combat biathlon. It's about a 7-mile training, running, shooting as a competition. And it was us and about 20 other teams that competed in that.
All in one day?
All in one day. All in one day. Yep.
And so I guess you won?
We did.
By the looks of
We
this
did.
picture,
Yeah.
you're getting the...
Yeah. That's Colonel Rowe, who was our 42nd Brigade commander, and of course I'm the guy on the right. And what was really nice is that the field artillery guys, it was their competition, their biathlon. They're supposed to win, and we ended up winning it instead of them, which is kind of fun.
So after the service, what did you do?
Well, when I knew I was going to depart, I was going to exit, I had applied to the Department of Treasury, to the Secret Service. And I interviewed with the Secret Service in Frankfurt, and then Paris, France, and I came back and met with him in Washington, D.C., and then finally at the Indianapolis field office, went through some of the interview process there. And everything was going well, but when it came down to it, it really didn't pay all that much. It was a GS6 level, entry level, and I was kind of discouraged about that. And I decided to look for another job, and I got a job in '91 with Johnson & Johnson in the sales position here in Indiana. And did that for about 6 or 7 years.
Okay.
And from there, I went down and worked for Hillenbrands for a few years, and finally made my way to where I am now. I'm the Chief Revenue Officer of a company called Finance System Incorporated. They're headquartered in Richmond, been around about 65 years. And it's kind of like the money side of healthcare. We help hospitals and physicians and dentists and pharmacies, get paid.
Okay. So joining the service, I mean, are you glad you joined the service? Is that something that you would recommend to people?
I am glad. I am glad I did it. It was really good for me. I expanded my circle of influence, the people I meet. I expanded my circle of concern. I got to go to places I otherwise wouldn't have a chance to go. I went to 27 countries. I think the best part of the military was, the people you meet. I mean, I met the most wonderful people in the Army. I mean, terrific people that I stay in touch with to this very day. And, I consider a couple best friends, but one of them I met in the Army. And he was a major, lives in Indianapolis. His name's Bart Brown. Some of you guys know Bart. He's a terrific guy. But had it not been for Army, ROTC, I would not have met him. And I would recommend it. I would recommend it because it really is beneficial to someone who's young. I wish I could go back. If I could do it all over again, I could go back and be that 19-year-old or that 20-year-old, being young and in shape and durable, physically durable, but with the experience that I have, maturity as a 57-year-old.
Right. So earlier you said, did you jump out of planes?
I did.
You did?
I did.
Tell us about that a little bit.
Well, after I left my officer basic course, I had a slot to Fort Benning, Georgia, to the Airborne Infantry School, Paratrooper School. And it's right around a month long. And it's interesting because you have a lot of individuals from different branches. We had Marines there, we had Navy SEALs there. And during the 3 or 4 weeks you're there, I mean, you have a ground week where you learn fundamentals of parachute landing fall and how to guide your parachute. And then the second week, they actually have you jump off about a 300-foot tower with a parachute. They drop you. And then the final week, once a day, you make a jump. You make 4 daylight jumps and 1 nighttime jump. And so I did that, and it was terrific because when I was over in Europe as a GI, I also got to make some jumps with military units. So with that, I mean, I probably have, I don't know, 100 and something jumps.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah. It was terrific. I mean, I really enjoyed it.
So later in your years, did you go skydiving?
No.
Was that it?
No, that's it. That's it. I know my limits, but it was, good training, something I always wanted to do. And it was static line jump. You're hooked to the plane when you jump out. The plane basically pulls your chute. And we were up about 1,250 feet, sometimes 2,000 feet. And it was really, really neat because once you jump out, the roar of the jet or the propellers are so loud, and all of a sudden it's just perfectly quiet. And you float down, and hopefully you have a good landing. I had a couple bad landings, but fortunately no damage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I couldn't imagine.
Yep.
Well, your family's from Fayette County, and you have really a sweet family here.
Thank you.
And then you're married to Teresa, and here's your entire family.
That's right. Yep. The former Teresa Shepard. She graduated in 1974. I like to point that out to people. Yeah. She doesn't appreciate it. But yeah, it's the entire family. Beautiful stepdaughter and Kylie Sizemore. She married Michael Sizemore. Todd Greason and his wife Melissa and their 2 kids, Esai and Eli, who are the grandkids.
Aww.
So we spend a lot of time with them, and it's a big extended family. I'm just so thankful, so grateful.
Right. Well, they're a sweet family. I've known them for a long time. Well, Don, I want to thank you for coming in today.
My pleasure.
Sharing with us your experience in the service. I want to thank you for your service and your sacrifice.
Thank you.
Because it means a lot to everybody, and that's what the show is about. So be sure to tune in next month for another edition of Hometown Salutes.